Hello guys, and welcome back. I'm sorry about the long hiatus there. I had a few things going on. I made a few comments about it, but I don't remember if I made a video for it. A while back I had a surgery that left me in recovery for like a bit over a week, and in all of that time I basically missed 2 weeks of school, which meant that recently I've been just working to make up 2 weeks of school, on top of still getting normal schoolwork. So I have been very busy, but things are finally starting to slow down a bit. So, with that, we're back to making YouTube. Let's see here, where did we leave off? Oh yeah, they were about to enter. Katia, enter. Katia, remember, your role here is a support. You can even quickly return Rajira's spear to her. If it would be knocked out of her paws, just follow the situation and correct it on the run. Commence final results. Katia's still nervous about everything. Makes sense. Watch out for any stuff the imps leave on the ground after you eye of fear them. Dodge the imps. Dodge the imps. Defy me, I dare you. Oh gosh, punch it in the mouth. Pretty pitty kitty and gritty witty kitty. Wait, city kitty. Oh. That's some form of alliteration. Pretty pitty kitty and gritty witty city kitty attack. The itty bitty imp committee stands no chance against you and your alliteration. That's fun. Katia, you aren't a very good Khajiit, and you never will be. Rajira proves that. But you can still show the word... What? I feel like this person just had a stroke writing this. But you can still show the world what an amateur, semi-decent witch hunter with about an hour of puzzle-based training can do. Oh, this is a flash. Well, here we go. So they are flashes. That's unfortunate. One of the comments was true about what was going to happen. Hey. I was about to say that everything went well for once. But no, nothing can ever go perfect for Katia. Yeah, good thing she got that. Yeah. I was really wondering why she got electric resistance, because all of my encounters with imps were oh, that would have been so much fun. If only Flash was still a thing. Oh. You can jump. Or is that... Oh no, that's just movement. Doesn't seem like a very fair fight, but it seems winnable, which is odd for Katia. Which just means that on the last phase he's gonna like nuke the whole room. Also, the whole room's starting on fire up top. It's a lot easier to notice things when you aren't the one that has to actively play the game. But I wish I still could. Yep. Unavoidable, all of a sudden whole room's on fire. Cutscene. Oh no. Well, she's gonna solve the imp problem. that's one thing, because it didn't actually just end the cutscene with her having to flee. So that's something. Unfortunately, I think they're going to have other problems besides the at the end of this. You know, fighting something that uses... Wait, the fire's gone? Oh, the fire wasn't there at the end. Now the question is, did the fire just disappear because it wanted to at the end of the animation, or is it actually gone? It's like the main issue is that whole house should be on fire. But let's see if it is. Brutality. Katia wins. Plus 999 bonuses to me. I think that means total time spent 999. Victory screech. Oh, the fire actually is out. I was about to do a victory screech, but then I decided against it. But yeah, no, the room is not on fire. Katia reap spoils. Imps always give galls. Katia, consume the imp's heart to gain its power, or at least look for its gall. Now, kick him. Show him who the real boss is. If I remember the Encyclopedia of Deadly Creatures right, this is a female imp. The bulge is an udder. I'm not gonna kick an udder, that would be kind of weird. Okay, first, check if you're on fire. If so, put yourself out. Then, check on the other stuff and try not to let any more stuff that you were meant to be protecting burn. Oh shoot. Downstairs now, grab water, call the guards, anything to suppress fire. And remember, you preemptively paid insurance in the form of that 10 septums just in case you broke everything, so still demand payment. Looks like the fires went out when the imp died. At least all the fires that were started by the imp's magic. There are a couple of dying embers around, but they're going out. Nothing big enough to be a real hazard. All of my spells either hit the imp or went out the window. Well, that's convenient. And I'm pretty sure this window isn't facing towards the super flammable orphanage. I'm just gonna kind of hope I'm right about that one. Well, Katia, you did it. How does it feel to have slayed a strong monster? I don't know how I'm supposed to feel. In all the stories I've read, this is the part where the love interest is supposed to burst through the door and sweep the main character off their feet with desperate statements about how she's glad he's okay. And the scene cuts to something else, and it's left pretty vague exactly who's expected to mop up all the blood, or at what point the main characters are supposed to shrug off a huge battle and be like, okay, back to what we were doing before. I don't really have much reference for how this whole post-battle thing is supposed to be hitting me. Right now, I actually feel, well, I did it. Maybe it was just a fluke, or the beefy imp's fault for relying on magic without realizing I could absorb it. But for like 100 seconds there, I was a telekinetic, spell-slinging, reckless hero, or wisecracking hero. I was something that I'd look up to instead of who I actually am. This is like the biggest achievement of my life. And if I can keep up this level of awesomeness the rest of the night, things are only going to get better. I feel good about this. I should celebrate. If I search through those 2 broken crates, maybe I could find something to... Okay, that answers my question about when it's time to forget about the fight and move on. I've got to collect that bounty. Hope that agreed upon 10 septums worth of damages isn't negotiable. and finally get my stuff back from Sigrid. Also, you're only sharing a third of the reward with Rhaegira. Katia insists that you get the 70%. It's only fair after Rhaegira just kinda left. Yeah, now that might be one place I need to do a little renegotiation. I can understand Rhaegira running away, especially since, as strange as it is to admit, she was less suited to a magical fight than I was, but even then, she fed me bad information. She didn't even leave me with a weapon, and I did most of the work here. I think that deserves a little more than 30%, like at least 40. Oh, right. There is a whole lock me in here to die thing. 45%, no lower. Use lockpick. Put your innate Khajiit thievery skills into use and make your way through that locked door. Now it's finally my time to show lockpick. That's great. It's gonna break. Oh, or that. The door is barred from the other side. Katia, unscrew the handle. You'd need something to unscrew it with. Use your lockpick like a screwdriver and unscrew the door handle. That worked? This is the thing I just did. In addition to solving nothing, it had the unique effect of making this entire situation slightly more inconvenient in every conceivable way. Fire! Burn! Katia, do it. Blast that door down and give that cat a piece of your mind. Use telekinesis on whatever is on the opposite side of the door. Pretty simple. After making it through the entire fight without any of my fire spells hitting the walls, I'm not going to burn the building down to get through a door. It's just something jammed against the handle, though it should be no problem. That didn't look right. Oh, yeah, no. Silver lined, oh. Oh, right. I guess if builders hadn't foreseen this, anyone with the slightest bit of magical ability could go wherever they wanted by unlocking doors from the other side. From the mark on the door, I'm guessing there's a silver ribbon or something running between the boards. I'm more than capable of jostling the door itself with telekinesis, but magic on the other side of it feels all weird and distorted. Telekinesis probably isn't gonna help me here. Lockpick wrote. Lockpick's back. Okay, what's their plan? I'm not done yet. I see 4 screws on the door handle. There's gotta be hinges on this side of the door. They're flatheads. I can unscrew them. That, on the other hand, the hinges are definitely accessible, but I don't think the lockpick could survive the 24 I was about to say you, the lockpick, but no, they aren't actually a person. It's just confusing. Could survive 24 screws necessary to take them off. If I wanted to tackle the hinges, my best option would be to find something pointy and sturdy. To pound the pin out a bit, maybe? Or maybe make a proper turn screw or a chisel. With the pins out, the disconnected door should slide right towards me. I just exploded a giant fire demon in a room full of landmines by punching its head off with a burning fist. I felt unstoppable, and I hate this wooden door so much. I guess I'll look for some tools. Huh. Looks like your gloves ran out of durability. Fancy that. Guess that makes your arena equipment illegal. Guess you won't be able to enter that dance contest now. You were so looking forward to it, too. What a shame. Oh well. Yeah, that's... Honestly, I think I was already planning to just keep the armor set and never compete. At least the incomplete raiment It'll give me an excuse so I don't have to feel bad about bowing. The arena master would probably even appreciate it, knowing that one of his suits was damaged in an actual life or death situation. Bon voyage, leather gloves. We barely knew ya. Then again, that dance competition is going to be my only way to pay Quillweave back if the Mages Guild heist goes wrong and backfires disastrously. Which we can all agree is absolutely undeniably gonna happen. If my raiment is incomplete, the arena master will probably charge me for replacement parts, which I can't really afford. But I can, probably fix these gloves? Yeah, they'll just need a little TLC. You put the shredded scraps of charred leather in your inventory and mark them as broken gloves to remind you what the heck they're supposed to be. I'll find some way to solve this one later. Don't you needlessly jump out a window at Quillweave's home? Why not do it now? Wait, didn't you needlessly jump out a window at Quillweave's home? Why not do it now? You're an experienced second floor height jumper now. It's time to use that skill and keep a proper level of badassery. Jumping out of Quillweave's window and spraining my ankle gave me just enough acrobatics experience that I know not to jump out of second-story windows. This lesson was reinforced yesterday when I broke both of my legs jumping off the roof of a 2-story building. Seriously, falling off buildings these last 2 days has taught me 2 very important things. First, you always land on your feet. Second, your feet hate landing on your feet. And if I want to get safely out through that window, I'm gonna need some kind of rope. Abseil with the imps' intestines. I feel like the glass could cut those. If I want to get out through the window, I'm gonna need some kind of rope. Use the rope you got from the well to climb down the window. Yeah, Regioga was the last one to use that, wasn't she? Oh, right. My inventory bar is packed. I almost forgot that I picked that up. Yep, Regioga. Literally taking everything you could need. Oh, come on. She called me a racial stereotype for stealing that off the ground and then took it from me? Really? Find Rajira, then politely rip her a new hole. Okay, no. As much as I'd like to go find Rajira and at least have a stern discussion regarding the whole locked me in here with a monster thing, I have bigger fishes to fry. Okay. My top priority is still breaking into the Mages Guild so I can steal my stuff, complete Quillweave's courier job, and prove once and for all that I am capable of accomplishing simple tasks without messing up. I might have gotten a little sidetracked with all the robberies and nightmares and fighting magic users, but primary goal is still to get that package back to Quillweave. Going to get into that guild hall as soon as possible, no matter what it takes, even if it entails ignoring something I'd like to do or doing something I'd rather not. Okay, now, you don't have a choice. You need to use the intestines, just check if they are firm, and hoist yourself down. I believe in you. Answer is no. Ah, my gosh, absolutely nothing about this was a good idea. It turns out it's actually pretty hard to remove something's entire intestinal tract with your bare hands and fashion it into rope. The longest intact piece of intestines I got is about 3 feet long. The whole attic smells like a slaughterhouse, and I kind of feel like I've desecrated a corpse in some way divine figures would disapprove of. The only solace I receive from doing this is that I told you it was stupid beforehand. I guess I'll need a different approach. Use telekinesis on the hinge pin. Use telekinesis to take apart the hinges. Unscrew the hinges with telekinesis? That might work. The hinge pin is easily accessible, but like I said, it's pounded into there pretty hard. My telekinesis isn't particularly strong, nor very good at rotation. If it was, I'd have like an awesome looking magical spinning barrier that went around me constantly. My best bet for disassembling these hinges is to find some proper tools or something else sturdy and pointy that I can use to tap them out. This feels like a point and click adventure now. How do we get out of the room? What's the tool there on the floor? Could you use it to open the door? Pliers. Those are calipers. Those are calipers. They're basically pliers that are too fragile to use for anything more intensive than measuring something's length. Yeah, our eyes are pretty large. And, like, people can see length, so I don't know why someone would want a tool for it. Wait, is she saying that she can just see, like eyeball length extremely precisely? Because that could be useful in some situations. What about the hole the imp made when it dropped down from the roof? Could you get out through there? The imp didn't drop down from the roof, it was just in the rafters. Even if there was a hole in the roof, though, I'd need some sturdy rope to get up to it. And then once I was up there, I'd be on a roof and need even more rope to get down. Really, I'm not feeling the whole get on the roof idea. Katia. Hey, Kat. Know what gets people attention? Levitating corpses outside their window. Seriously, just chuck the corpse out the window and use it as a landing cushion. That, on the other hand, I guess I could see working. Other than the bony bits, this dead imp is starting to get kneaded into a fairly soft cushion. The biggest challenge would be getting it through the window, since it's pretty large and too heavy for telekinesis. Also, landing on it would make a huge mess, but that's starting to matter less and less at this point. See if you can use that huge sheet covering those boxes as a long enough rope to climb down. Also, what is in those boxes? More rope? Okay, so ignoring window versus door, what the heck is under that clothy thing near the imp? Maybe there's something there that'll help you out? Or maybe you could use the cloth itself to whip up something that'll work well enough as a rope? Using telekinesis, ride that tarp covering the boxes like a flying carpet. I don't think that's how telekinesis works, but I enjoy the enthusiasm. This lining is pretty thin, badly burnt in places and soggy with blood. I might be able to twist and knot it into an okay rope if I doubled it over, but at that point it would be getting pretty short. I could try flying on it like a carpet, but my telekinesis isn't really strong enough to lift my entire weight, broad enough to hold an entire piece of cloth into shape. It would probably be more like holding myself in a giant sack that slows my fall, assuming I didn't just rip through the bottom and fall either way. Nothing useful. That looks like we've got shot glasses and a bunch of parcels. As for the crates themselves, if the first one's any indication, they're just full of household supplies, plates, candle holders, that sort of thing. It's nothing that would be useful to me, and most of the stuff here is already cracked and broken, probably from the magical explosions going off near it. Looks like this hand mirror made it out okay, though. That's 7 years of bad luck I don't have to deal with. Luck probably isn't real anyway. Anyway, most of your ideas for getting out of this room are complicated, horrible, and probably going to end in serious injury for me. Maybe this is one of those instances where I need to think like a witch hunter, find the simple direction that nobody would think of. Like any easy magical way to push my telekinesis through the silver lined door, or pass myself down through the floorboards, or just yell for them and say the thing is dead. Would that work? I think it would. Just call for help. I was thinking about that a while ago. About mentioning that she could just, call for help. But I just wanted to see how long it would take, how many ideas they would come up with, or if anyone would think of saying that. You stomp on the floor and call down, "Hey, the imps are all gone. Lajira kind of locked me up here. Also, please bring a clean towel, like, preferably one that you don't care about getting, messed up." Oh, what was her voice? Sweet, no, it was like southern. Sweet, 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 sweet Caroline. Bum, bum, bum. No, sweet, 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 sweet. Sweet mother of Talos. No, that's not southern enough. Sweet, sweet mother of Talos. No. Nope, too much drawl. Sweet mother of Talos. Sweet mother of Talos, the shopkeeper says. I don't feel like that's right, but that's the best I can remember now. Things got a little out of hand. First, it turned out there were 3 imps in here instead of 2. And the last one was 10 feet tall and knew fire magic, and I'm sorry for breaking, everything, but I wasn't exactly expecting I'd have to fight a giant death monster one-on-one. So, from the way this spear looked like it was there specifically to bar the door closed, I'm going to assume that your friend's story about leaving you her weapon and an expensive summoned storm golem scroll while she ran to get her potions was completely made up. Whoa. She told you that? She said that? No, she didn't do any of that. She just ran and locked the door behind me as soon as stuff got bad. Well, you called her out on being a classic Khajiit stereotype. And so far she has been, to be honest. Make a big mental note to slap Prajira on her hypocritical face when you get down. No better idea. Put it in the quest log. Wait, no. Better idea. Put it in the quest log. I read it without the comma there and just thought it was like saying there's no better way to deal with that. Just remember to slap her. And done. You quietly whisper, "Thank you." And then I guess it's thinking to herself, the silver-lined door was keeping me from telekinetically moving the spear. Not having to prove that side of the story is a real silver lining here. Oh, that pun was amazing. I wish I could say it out loud and give the shopkeeper enough context for her to understand it. You turn your attention back over to her. The initial shock of her decimated storeroom seems to have worn off, and she's now making an audible list of damages. She notes that most of the food is burnt, the cloth rolls have been reduced to scraps, every single mirror seems to be broken. Oh, on the bright side, at least my surplus rope, grappling hooks, and climbing harnesses survived. So, the two of us agreed to 10 septims to cover any potential damages, but this is a lot of damage. Essentially anything I had in this storage is burnt, shattered, or soaked into blood, and that wasn't exactly something I budgeted for. On the other hand, you did fight the king of imps in here, so it wouldn't be... It sounds like we're going to talk about business. I'm pretty sure the two of us should be performing negotiations down at the counter like professional business people. I guess? Oh, so that she can't get a full assessment of the damages before you work out an agreement. Interesting thought process. Anyways, she reiterates, there's a lot more damage than I anticipated. Granted, I hadn't realized the imp problem had been that severe, or else I probably would have had the Fighters Guild deal with it a lot sooner. Hell, if they'd known how bad it was, they probably would have asked more than 200 for the job. Are you going to change your end of the bargain? No, a deal's a deal, but if it's all the same to you, maybe you'd consider letting me pay you with some of my stock, rather than raw gold. It'd be a lot less of an impact on me, financially, and it already sounded like you were looking to turn around and spend the reward here anyway. Well, I admit that was the plan, back when I thought I was going to be walking away with about 40 septums after having Rajira take her cut to pay for the magic scroll. 170 is more than I, ever had in my name at any given point, though. And I'm not even sure what sort of things people would, spend that much on. What were you planning on paying me with? More scrolls? That's entirely up to you, she says. Was there anything in particular you were looking for? Need a sweet thieves outfit for this, or at least a hood. A hood? Active quest, gather resources, get package from Sigrid, new outfit. Oh, I could use a new outfit. My current gear is kind of noisy, cumbersome, and as of a few minutes ago, brightly colored, and I'd like something a bit sneakier. Not that I'm using it to steal anything, of course. I'd just like to avoid any more unwanted life or death fireball exchanges with people who know what they're doing. Yeah, I understand. The best confrontations are ones you can avoid. If it's stealth you're looking for, I actually might have the thing. Every few years or so, the town gets a traveling hedge mage passing through looking to offload a bunch of stuff they've made as enchantment practice. It's rarer these days, what with the rising prices of mage tallow candles, but when one shows up, she'll usually snag a few dozen bits of magic clothing and jewelry. Isn't enchanted clothing usually worth tens of thousands of septums? I've seen it for sale in the guilds back at Hammerfell, and the prices were never exactly in the 170 septum range. Those were probably professional guild-produced pieces. Most of what I get are from private enchanters, and they're little things like linen skirts that make you jump a few inches higher, or a wool hat that clears up nearsightedness. The soul power in the enchantment is usually something weak, like a rabbit or a boar or whatever else the enchanter had been hunting for dinner. Like I said, most of what I get are practice items. Quick things made to help the enchanter work out flaws in their technique. The piece I have in mind for you, though, is a bit more of an experiment. An experiment? As in a magic item with a caveat. Oh. An experiment? As in a magic item with a caveat. Technically, it's probably worth more than 200 septums, but I've had it for years without a buyer. The enchanter who sold it to me called it the Cloak of Grey Tomorrow. Long and short, it's kinda like an invisibility cloak. Powerful one, too. Last time I used it, it lasted about an hour. An hour? That would be more than enough time to escape from all sorts of danger while doing perfectly legal activities. Why wouldn't something like that sell? Well, that's where the caveat comes in. While you're invisible, everything is fine, and the cloak is amazing, but as soon as you deactivate the enchantment, take off the cloak, or otherwise stop the invisibility spell, you go completely blind. Like forever? I don't think she'd be able to see if it was forever. Nobody would use magic rag that makes them go blind forever. No, you just lose your sight for as long as you are invisible, down to the second. The longer you stay invisible, the longer you can't see afterwards. and by the time your sight comes back, the invisibility spell recharges. Does that make the enchantment use less magicka? Pairing a good thing with a bad thing like that? No, the shopkeeper says. I'm pretty sure it just makes the cloak require twice as much power as it would otherwise. And an enchantment that strong probably took thousands of septums worth of materials to make, and needed a Daedra soul to power it. I asked the enchanter why anyone would waste that much on an invisibility cloak that blinds you. She just said that. Seems fair that everyone else should get to be invisible too. Wait. That feels like world building on something that we haven't seen yet, like the character is implying something that we have nothing about, whoever sold that cloak. Do vampires have invisibility? If so, that could be an implication. That's got a negative downside because it was made by a vampire. What could turn invisible at will? I don't know. Because the way that's worded seems to imply that whoever made the cloak already had the ability to go invisible and might have been blind. But there's not enough context there at the moment. Look, Sigrid did a lot to show me and the others in town that magic wasn't all bad. But frankly, mages are weird. Every single one of them. Katia, weigh options. That actually seems like a pretty okay option. So, there are two ways that could go using the cloak. One, you only use it for short bursts while you're in the place. Like, if you know that you're near someone, you use it. And then just use it to get out of line of sight, and then stop using it. Go blind for like 2 seconds, but as long as no one noticed you, you'll be fine. Or two, you give yourself exactly 1 hour to get all the stuff that you need back, and go to a safe place afterwards. Don't buy the cloak. Chances are the invisibility will just wear off on you at the most inconvenient moment, leaving you blinded halfway through your perfectly legal activities. Take the cloak. I mean, it's not like you aren't used to dealing with the fallout from your escapades anyway. I mean, the amount of trouble you get into while blind can hardly be much worse than the stuff that has already happened to you, right? Other commands. Give up the cloak. It's better to ask for money. That way you have enough to purchase new books for Quillweave. Well, on one hand, this magic cloak is basically the textbook definition of backfire disastrously. Long-lasting invisibility might increase my chances of getting into the Mages Guild unspotted, but if anything at all goes wrong during the break-in, like I take too long or Sigrid wakes up and dispels my invisibility, the cloak is only going to make things 1,000 times worse and probably shatter any hopes I'd have of salvaging the situation or even escaping alive. And on top of that, this is a general store. I could just as easily use my earnings to get some quieter, darker colored clothes and maybe even that short invisibility scroll in case of an emergency. It would certainly be more reliable than some finicky magic cloak made by an eccentric enchanter. On the other hand, though, a fully fledged invisibility cloak would be your first magic item besides the wand that you can use whenever you want. No, on the other hand, I don't actually have to go through with the break-in at all. With Rajir out of the picture, I just got like 170 septums. That's enough to buy a new copy of the book I ruined and stay at the inn until Asotil comes back, then return to Quillweave having accomplished absolutely everything she sent me to do. The shopkeeper might want me to pay in store credit, and she stood by her bargain thus far and probably give me a payment in raw gold if I asked. I could just walk. Sure, it won't be glamorous. There's no big triumphant return where I reveal to Quillweave that I've gone above and beyond her simple courier job and I'm going to pay her back for every damage I did to her home. I'd be costing the shopkeeper a lot of money holding her to her original agreement, even after destroying her entire storage room, and Sigrid, well, I'd leave her be and just become another one of the many people she was able to rob and abuse without consequence. But in exchange for these things, I could succeed. For the first time in my life, I could make it through a simple job without messing it up by trying to make everything better. Well, that's the hero complex, making everything better. Or trying to. Be careful with that cloak. Press for details. Is that invisibility or chameleon? If it's just invisibility, it'll stop working as soon as you steal something or, punch someone. Wait, is it invisibility or strong chameleon? Because from what I remember, invisibility breaks when you do anything, like opening a door, whereas chameleon stays active no matter what you do, though I'm not sure how that would come into play with enchantments. Maybe now would be a good time to learn to counteract the whole blindness thing. Ask if the blindness can be cured at a temple like a curse? I'd like to know a little bit more about the cloak, please. What type of invisibility does it use? I remember there being a few types, some breaking easier than others. Oh, that's a good question. From what the enchanter told me, it's the sturdier type of invisibility. What's it called? The one that makes a tight suit of lights that bends around your body? I can't remember the spell's name, but it's not traditional invisibility, which just creates an easily shattered illusion. Place you're standing in is empty. Oh, well, okay. What about the blindness? You said it lasts up to an hour, depending on how long you stay invisible. Could a healer or a potion cure it ahead of time? Will the blindness take effect, immediately if the cloak falls off or something? And if I'm an atronach, could I possibly resist the blindness? I haven't tested the cloak too extensively. I might be living in Cyrodiil, but this deep end magic stuff gives me the heebie-jeebies. To answer your question, though, first time I tested the cloak, I had a healer on hand for emergencies. Traditional healing spells didn't do nothing for the blindness, but Electa did manage to chip away at its duration a little with dispelling magic. Taking the cloak off seemed to trigger the blindness, the same as deactivating the spell on the way. And for the atronach being able to absorb the blindness, I don't know. I've only ever known a few people born into the atronach's month, and the last of them died of old age a few years ago. Basically, back when Eden started giving out free on hot days, your kind incessantly went from half the new births to none of the new births. Ah, I see. That makes sense, I guess. I've only ever met one other atronach, and he was also long dead. What do you mean by he was long dead? It's, complicated. It was a thing. Ask if the cloak effect stacks if you rapidly use it. Ask, may you make people blind by putting that cloak on them telekinetically? This cloak requires some field testing. Rest of the day dedicated to figuring out how that cloak works. Sounds about right. So if someone were to say, wear the cloak for 30 minutes, take it off, and put it right back on again, would the invisibility reactivate for the rest of the hour while they were blind? Could they spend the next 30 minutes blind and invisible while the cloak recharges the first 30 minutes? After which they repeat the process, near permanently invisible but spending every other half hour blind? Alternatively, if I wore the cloak for 40 minutes, then put it back on to become blind and invisible, would the 20-minute blindness merge with the 40-minute blindness, such that they're invisible and sighted for 40 minutes, invisible and blind for 20 minutes, visible and blind for only 20 minutes? I haven't tested the cloak too intensively, let alone that pathologically. From what I've determined, though, when the cloak blinds its user, it turns completely inert for just as long as you're blinded, even if the invisibility spell was deactivated early. Any attempts to reactivate it won't work until enough time has passed for the blindness to have worn off. So crazy plans to circumvent the enchanter's weird caveat probably won't bear fruit. Is that everything? She's starting to get a little upset. No. I'm sorry for all my questions. I just think I'm about to do something really not smart, and since there's pretty much no talking myself out of it, I'm trying to come up with an approach that's as unstupid as possible. So the vibe I'm getting from this cloak of gray tomorrow is that it's not too dangerous if it's used in short bursts, so I can get into a safe place and let it recharge, as opposed to trying to get everything done in one go and having it blink out on me as soon as an hour is up. What about offensive uses? Could I telekinetically throw the cloak over someone and then pull it off a few seconds later to blind them? Okay, the shopkeeper warns, you're getting a little too far into mage thought now. If you want to blind someone in a fight, you throw a regular sheet over them. That way they're instantly blinded and you don't have to worry about an angry, invisible aggressor. Oh, right. I forgot that was a thing. Any other questions, or are you ready to make your call on the payment? Can I try it on? Can I try on the invisibility cloak is one of those lines they very specifically warn people about when they're trying to become a shopkeeper. Do you trust me? She wasn't even doing the cat eyes. Those are just normal eyes. Which means she's being less manipulative than normal. Well, worst case scenario here is that you silently accept your payment for the imp job, leave, and I can go to bed. Anyways, I suppose it makes sense that you'd want to get your handle on the cloak's nuances, make sure it's something you can deal with and all that. Mess up of a magic cloak for... screw up of a magic cloak for a screw up of a hero. There's something delightful about that, don't you think? Actually, yeah, that's a way of looking at it. Please, I'm no stranger to weird magic. I just want to make sure it still works. For an invisibility cloak that's actually within my budget, I'm pretty sure I can handle whatever weirdness this cloak throws at me. Those are nice cloak designs. Oh, more cloak designs. I think Oh, it's Homestuck vibes. That's what I'm getting. Cloak, be hideously colorful. Oh, what the heck? Okay, is it, like, disgusting? This isn't even gray. What color scheme is it called? It's like a festive holiday disaster. Well, it's called the Cloak of Clay, the Cloak of Gray Tomorrow. The implication isn't necessarily that the cloak is gray, but that tomorrow is gray, as far as I figure the name makes sense. Sure, it makes technical sense, but there are still rules of good taste when it comes to naming things. If you're gonna put gray in something's name, you can just carry that theme halfway and then dump it by the side of the road. You don't have to call it that if you don't want to. It's not like it's written on the cloak anywhere. Maybe it's called gray because of that particular silver lining. I think that the shopkeeper already said why it's called gray, and it's because you literally can't see for a set amount of time after using it. I mean, blackness is pretty close to gray, and I think that's the jab the original name was going for. What? The shopkeeper asked. It was a joke, like the fact that you change its name to a silver lining, and silver is like, you know what, never mind. Everything about this joke was a mistake. But seriously though, I was kind of hoping it would be a bit darker gray or something, so I'd be a little less obvious if I have to hide in a corner, blinded, waiting for invisibility to recharge. The waiting periods with this thing are going to be kind of tense though. Do you have, like, maybe a book I could read? Wait, why would you want a book if you're blind? A book to read while you're blind, the shopkeeper deadpans. Maybe something in night writing? I can read the basic type and some of the level 2 stuff. It's kind of something I pick up when I have extremely... It's kind of something I picked up because I have extremely fickle and self-destructive magic built into my eyes. Honestly, nobody's ever asked before. I think a traveler might have once pawned something like that off here, but I can't remember anyone ever buying it. Let's see if it's still on the shelf. So, how do you, like, turn it on? The hood, just flip it up to down. That is pretty effective. And makes sense. It blinds us too, though, which makes sense comedically and possibly thematically. Whoa, that's a weirder feeling than I was expecting. The blindness makes everything turn black, though, not gray. That name was just really awful. It's better than the festive holiday disaster. So, you good with the cloak as payment for the imp job? Well, assuming you don't plan to strip while wearing the cloak, you still have some janky armor that you need to replace. Either see if the shopkeep has a spare set of clothes or inquire as to where you can get some new threads. It's growing on me. Yeah, yeah, I think this might actually work. I'm still looking for some new, quieter clothes, and I was serious about maybe getting a book to read if that's a thing you could throw in, or... Throw in isn't my style. She says, go for the or barter for, right. Well, I've got a nice low-key outfit and what looks to be your size. Anything else you're looking for, assuming it's not a mirror? I could probably scrounge up for the right price. I do have some things to sell. At the very least, I want to get some basic, danger escaping supplies, like a center punch. Like a center punch? What's that? Not quite sure. Did you just change in front of me? The shopkeeper asked. Yes, but it was like really fast, so it wasn't weird, right? No, it was still weird. Okay. I think I'm gonna leave it here before Katia has to trade. So we all know that Katia is probably like the hero, right? She can change clothes instantly. One of the gags about main characters from Oblivion. She's definitely got like the heroic do what you think is right thing to her, and adventurous instead of just going here and there. So I suppose we'll see what she can scrounge up for her meager belongings in the next episode. Till then, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next episode. So, see ya!